Hello, everybody. What's happening today? The Network King Lee Williams here, and we are doing this podcast going live. We're going to talk about a few things, and I'm going to go ahead and bring in my guest, one of my guests, and if anybody else wants to be a guest, you can just click, send me a message, let me know. And we're going to add other guests on. My guest this tonight is Mr. Dustin Long. We got him in on it. Dustin, how you doing, bro?
Going on, man?
Oh man, nothing too much. Just wanted to bring you on because I know you work with youth, you do different sports and stuff like that, and I wanted to have this conversation because I made a post in in a group, Tri Cities basketball group, the other day, and it's been a thing that's been talked about. It's been going on for years. So we're just gonna go ahead and cut to the chase on it. Just get right in on it. Um, why are coaches and parents playing kids down in grade levels and age levels of youth tournaments? What's the purpose of it? What are they getting out of it? What's your thought on it? Like, when you see ninth grade kids playing in seventh grade tournaments or 16-year-olds playing in like 13 and 14-year-old tournaments. I mean, what's the purpose of it? So I'd love to get into this conversation on this.
Uh, can you see me? I can't see myself on here. I don't know if
Nah,
you
you don't have, your camera's not on. Your camera's not on.
that. I don't really see no purpose in it, to be honest with you. Because if you're saying you're just doing it to get extra reps, you can get more reps in the gym. The only time I would want to move one of my kids is move them up. Uh, my opinion. Um, I don't want my kid playing. Uh, Actually, my daughter had somebody ask her to play what she want to play with sixth or seventh grade a couple of weeks ago, and I just didn't even respond. So me personally, I don't like that. Like I would always try to play up when I was younger, and I'd always try to put my kids make some better, see the better competition. Um,
I hear that. I hear that. Yeah. For some reason, your camera's not turned on. So if your camera's on, but if people are hearing you, so that way on that part, if you hit your camera tab, may be off or something like that on there. But you're right, man. I mean, and I'm all for kids playing up. If they can, if a seventh grader can play in an eighth grade tournament, or if a seventh grader even gets the opportunity to play in a ninth grade tournament, if they have that skill set and they're talented enough, hey, let them play up. And that stuff there. And my thing is, and I've seen some instances where some of these coaches, and I blame parents and coaches. I blame both of them on that, because for coaches to do it, obviously they're cheating the system just to get a win, and for parents to allow it and be a part of it, they're cheating just as well because they know it's happening, and it's a bad situation. And is the win worth that much? I mean, is it that important to win that people got to cheat? I mean, I'm trying to figure out what's people's logic behind it, and I've yet to hear anybody tell me why, other than just it being a cheating situation and people wanting to celebrate a victory. But what are we teaching the kids?
my you ain't teaching them nothing that they're gonna be able to use in life. Nothing positive. My opinion is, you're just when it happens like that, it's the parent's ego, it's the coach's ego. It starts to become more about the win than the kid's improvement. What does ninth grade kids, 10th grade kids get out of beating seventh grade people? Other than
Bingo.
coach gets to say, "Hey, we won this tournament." Well, you didn't beat nobody. You know, and a lot of the I just did my podcast and we was talking about that with boxing. You'll see a lot of boxers run up to 10 and 0, 11 and 0, 12 and 0, and some of the fans are ignorant to how the game goes. But if you start looking at their opponents, you see that they fought somebody that was 0 and 5, 0 and 6, 0 and 10, 0 and 12. Like, okay, so my granny could be 10 and 0 if she wanted to fight them. You haven't done anything. You just look
Right.
like you've done something. So then when you have these 12th grade kids beating up on ninth graders, whenever they get, in the high school and they make it to the district tournament or somewhere like that, they're probably going to get ran through because they've been lied to their whole life. They're winning tournaments that are meaningless tournaments. You know what I mean? It's just not really. it's almost like you're not into your kid getting better. You're just into being able to say,
It's like that, like kind of like they're doing a thing where it's kind of like the whole padding the stats per se. I guess when I've heard people, what we used to say back in the day, people trying to pad the stats or trying to pad their win loss record by going in and beating up on a younger group to make their numbers look big, to make them look bigger than what they are, and there's really no justice in it on that part.
yeah. Um,
That's
and there's, I guess there's different ways or different you know, you always want your kids to play or whatever, but my cousin or a good friend, you know, Damon, he don't put his team. He's got a girls team that's actually won a national title, and he won't put them in a lot of tournaments. And I've always asked why, and he's like, well, why would I? He said we're gonna run through them. It's gonna give them a false sense of, you know, if you come over here and you wrestle with Layla, you're gonna slam her, you know, and you're just gonna ragdoll her, and then you're gonna get a false sense of something. Hey, like you done something. Then you go wrestle with another grown man that weighs 200 pounds, and it's gonna be a rude awakening because you're actually doing it with somebody who's can handle their own that's on your level. So
right.
it really, me, I don't like it. I wouldn't do it, but you know, to each their own.
And I hear, I saw some people say, well, some of the tournaments allow it. The tournaments are doing certain things that they allow. And I know every tournament's going to be different because some tournaments don't have enough staff to go through all the checks, or they don't want to waste time on doing the stuff with checking. Because ultimately, there's some tournaments out there. It's just out there just trying to make money, which I still don't agree with. The older kids playing down or the higher grades playing down. I always tell people, it's something where they really need to do their research before getting into the tournaments, and just make sure that they're going to check the birth certificates, check the check the ages, check the report cards. If it's a tournament that says they check report cards. I mean, it's just like I know you all were fighting. Y'all have to go through certain protocols um, in order to get cleared to fight.
Yeah, I feel like it should be the same. I mean, it's not like you said. Even whenever the tournaments do it to try to make money, again, you're taking all the attention away from the kids. You're taking the benefit away from the kids. You're doing it because the parents want to make money. The AAU wants to make money. The person throwing the tournament that owns the buildings want to make money. You're taking it away, taking the competition away from the kids. You know, let them decide who wins in a fair way. And I mean, it just it owns it if you ask me. You know what I mean? Because what
Right.
about a grade girls team or boys team of seventh graders that bust their butt all year? They're the number one team in the nation. They go to a tournament and they lose to a bunch of ninth graders. So now you've got these girls who's really the best seventh grade team in the nation, and they don't get the trophy because somebody brought in a bunch of 10th graders that look like, no, that's not fair. You know what I mean? It's not fair. And it's dirty. You know what I mean? And when the parents are doing it or the coaches are doing it, it's really really dirty. There's one thing when a 12 or 13-year-old tries to get by or sneak one over, you know, they're kids. But when
Right.
you've got organizations or
Bingo.
or or parents that, you know, that's kind of, you know, that's dirty because you know what you're doing. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Benefit. So I don't
Yeah.
like.
I'm one of those ones I look at. It's bad that they're doing it, and some of them don't realize karma will get some people, man. Yeah, it's like some of them they don't realize that, but I'm one of those I believe it's eventually karma catch back up with them. On doing stuff like that. It's and like you said, it's bad when it's the adults that are the ones orchestrating it and doing it. Kids gonna be kids. They might do some things, try to get away with some stuff. But when the adults are doing it, that really makes it a bad situation. And
Yeah.
it's and it's bad. I always look at the things. I'm like, and that's where tournaments have to do better. They have to either figure out, getting better staff in, put a better system in order to say, hey, people get in sooner to do to check stuff. check the IDs, check the stuff. Hey, make the check-in time sooner so they can go through their processes doing what they got to do because it isn't fair to the kids, and it does it kind of it makes a bad look on any tournament, any organization when this stuff is happening.
Yeah, yeah, I agree 100%. Like my daughter, she wrestles, and I allow her to wrestle boys, and hopefully she doesn't get hurt, but I allow her to wrestle boys. But they're still within her age group and her weight class. Now, you know what I'm saying? And I know that. And me and her both go into that with our eyes open. That's good. I'm fine with it. She actually does really good. She's won a couple boys. But if she was to get hurt and she's 11 years old, and I find out 3 weeks later that the boy was 14 and 10 pounds overweight, that's going to be an issue. And it's not the kid's fault, but whoever allowed that, that's going to be a real issue. Now you're talking about my kid got hurt by somebody that you allowed to cheat. That's different. That's and even in basketball and football, it's not just wrestling or combat sports. A 16-year-old female is stronger and more aggressive than a 13-year-old. That like they're going to the bucket a little different. They're playing defense a little different. They're they them 3 years might not matter to an adult between a 22 and a 25-year-old. I promise you, those 3 years matter in teen years when 11-year-old boy is not going to beat a 14-year-old boy in basketball.
Right.
9 times out of 10, unless the 11-year-old is just a superstar and the 14-year-old just ain't on that level.
Yeah.
But at that amount of time, a 14-year-old is just so much more advanced than 11 and 12-year-old. I mean, you're talking about a young man now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Man against a child, somebody that still probably plays with toys.
Yeah. You're right. You're right about that. And I've even heard some people, talking about, because when I made the post the other day, some of them want to bring up, well, in some of the organizations or some of the, like AAUs and USABs and USBAs, they try to say, well, some of the stuff is allowed where an older kid can play in a certain bracket. I'm like, well, the thing is, people have to look at the catch on that. If it says like 8th grade and under, normally your 8th graders, most 8th graders are 14 years old, but they do have a stipulation where it says if they're 15 by this certain date, but their report card still has to be 8th grade. And I was like, but what I'm talking about in that clarification is when you've got bringing in a 9th grader or a 10th grader to play in that 8th grade tournament, that's where it's wrong at. I mean, if there's a clarification where it's like 8th grade and under, and it says 15, the kid can be 15 in the 8th grade. That's letting know, hey, this is our limit here where it's at. But some people were trying to, I guess, feel like they were justifying it some way, and I'm like, well, that's not justifying what I was trying to say on that deal.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like the business part is what causes that. That's big business now. All these AAU footballs, basketballs, wrestling. There's a lot of money in that. Go to your next local Smoky Mountain State Championship in Redbird. Thousands of people there. $25 to get in, $15 to park, $10 for a hot dog. Thousands of people. They're making a whole lot of money. So it's not the same. I'm 40. I played college ball, so I played basketball my whole life. You played the same. We had AAU coming up, but it wasn't as big. We didn't have so much social media. It just wasn't as big.
Yeah.
Now, I think a lot of that is coming from the business standpoint because now you have these tournaments who want these superstars playing in their tournaments. You have these organizations who, okay, say for instance, you have an organization called Red Rover or whatever it is. They can go play. They put a bunch of 10th grade boys against 7th grade boys, and they go freaking 40-0 the whole summer, and they win everything. Well, guess what? That makes it to the public's eye who doesn't know any better. I need to take my kid to that place because they've won all the games. You see what I'm saying? Trying to pull and I've actually dealt with stuff like that with people trying to pull you can pull the wool over certain people's eyes, but when you're dealing with somebody who's been in that sport or been through that or what you can't really it don't work as good. You know what I mean? Like you can see through it, but 9 out of 10 parents that put their kids in sports, I wouldn't say 9 out of 10. I'd probably say at least 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
The moms didn't play football. The moms
Right.
didn't, and they're the ones signing them up, so they don't know. They go in there and they may see, okay, here's a bunch of banners. They won this, they won that. Well, so that's all they see. That's all they know. It's
Yeah.
just like fighting. If nobody knows the game, they might see somebody who's 10-0, and like I said, the people who fight, they're like, well, he ain't beat nobody. That 10-0's, it doesn't mean anything. But
Yeah.
somebody who's gonna be like, oh my God, he's 10-0. That's great. You know,
Hmm.
so the business is what, in my opinion, has messed it up because everybody's fighting for the dollar. They're fighting for the students. They're fighting for the players. They're fighting for the parents. They're fighting for the boosters. If me and you both have an AAU team and I can make my team go 10-0 and your team goes 5-5, but let's say that your team is way better than mine. I'm just taking my team out here to the backwoods and we're playing a whole bunch of people who can't even play football. Well, I'm gonna get more business than you. I'm gonna get more sponsors to the
Right.
people. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I definitely understand that. That's
Or is
that's a backdrop right there. Awesome. Awesome. But you're right. It's some of them just going for that thing where they're trying to, they go out and they play teams that may not be as talented, so they're trying to just show wins, so it gives that appearance to people that they are winning all these tournaments, winning all this stuff, but they're not playing any competition talent. And then when they really go play some talent out somewhere, they won't say nothing about it and they won't advertise. They won't put anything about that part. They try to hide that because then they haven't done anything then. So you're right, man. It's bad because it is the business side of it because some of them are trying to just showcase their business part of it and trying to make themselves look good, either trying to get parents in, or like I said, or the organizations that it's because of some money maker on these tournaments with the entry fees, the parking stuff, the food, and all that, and just so they're letting so much stuff slide that it's hurting. It's actually hurting not just one sport because I mean somebody said earlier travel football's bad at doing it. Basketball, we see it happen in basketball, soccer, and I mean so many different baseball. So yeah, all of that it's hurting them all on there on that part of it. So
it
man,
it
it's
hurts
crazy.
who try to play fair. It hurts the kids who play fair, and it hurts the kid. It hurts the coaches who are really in it for the kids. Like I said, say for instance, you're a way better coach than me, and we both coach football, and you really, really, really love the game, and you're just better than me at all aspects of coaching. But I'm a better businessman, and I'm beating up on kids, and so I'm 10-0, and you're taking your kids, you're going to Florida, you're hitting all these football states, you're taking your kids to Texas, so y'all got about a 50-50 record. But your kids are actually seeing people that in 5 or 6 more years you're going to see on Sports Center.
Yeah,
Kids, so it's doing the injustice. Um it's like I'm crippling my kids, and it's dirty to you because you deserve the parents to come in and support you, but they're going to support me because I'm 10-0, and they don't
right,
know. Well, not all parents, but the
right.
one, so it's just, and I think that's where you get a lot of that's the reason for that. It's and not that it's actually smart business.
Yeah,
So you look at it, it's brilliant business. You know what I mean? Because you can make yourself look like something that you're really not. You know.
right. You're right. You're right about that. You're right about that. Now, one thing I know that you do here in the area, which is great. So I got to give this shout out to you and to some others out there that because you work with youth and you're trying to train them the right ways. Not only just in the sports that you do, you're also talking to them about mindset and approach and stuff like that. Guys. Yeah, I'm just throw a few names out here, a few people that I see doing it, and I may not be able to call everybody because I may forget some people here. So if I do forget somebody, I'm not leaving you out. I'm keeping those in mind too. You, uh, Brigham Lions, the guy Hoop Movement. There's Jeff Ricker out there. There's Sean Potts. And there's so many. Scott McMahon. And these are some of the basketball people that I say out there. Shane Bricky and there's many others out there who are trying to teach the things and talking to the youth and working with youth and doing more stuff. Sammy and nothing but that crew and all them over there. And there's a lot of different coaches and teachers and everybody that's, really trying to work with youth and do stuff. Sean Banks and the crew over at Tri-City Sportsplex, and different stuff. The dude over at Tri-Cities Christian, I can't remember his name, I think they call him like Muggsy, or I think they call him something like that. I don't know everybody around here, so I see some things and see people stuff that goes on. But when you hear and you see how the kids respond and react to people on there, I really like seeing what the things that people are doing. Brian Gamble and that crew and everybody that's doing their stuff. Everybody that's trying to work with these kids and help them. But when you go to these other places and you start seeing that other people that are cheating tournaments, it does make it tough on the ones who are actually trying to do something. And everybody's got a little bit of fault in them, but people not cheating. Everybody ain't out cheating something. There may be something that people may not like about this person, may not like about that person. Heck, there's some things some people may not like about me, and I get it. But but I know we all are trying to do stuff right and trying to do things to help the youth. So, I definitely want to, just, commend you and applaud you on what all you do, man. I mean, you putting out for, getting facilities around here, getting the boxing exposure, and beyond that. I mean, because it's keeping these kids off the streets too. And, a lot of people there's a lot of people around here I shouldn't say a lot of people. There's some people around here who I don't think realize that for some kids, basketball, football, or boxing is all they got to get them through, to get them over as far as through their life, to get them out of whatever the situation is that might be negative in the household. Because some of them just think, it's, because some people say, man, basketball and everything, and football and everything, it ain't all this, but they don't know what somebody's going through at home. For some of these kids, it's an outlet.
So some people, it really is.
So that's why whenever I see people cheating the system, and the thing is, when you see people cheating the system, and they might, they in the good homes, they got good cars, they in good neighborhoods, but yet they cheating the system, and they don't realize what it's doing to these ones this is their way of survival. They're doing this because they trying to get their family out of whatever situation it is, and it's an outlet for them. It's a release.
It's dirty. It's like you said, it's dirty. It's not fair to the kid who will die for baseball or basketball. Like you said, you can't judge. To some people, it is everything. You know what I'm saying? Some kids that grow up, basketball is everything, football is everything, boxing is everything. So to have that kid bust his tail every day in practice, do everything his coach is telling him to do. If you do this, you're gonna make it here. Just to get somewhere and get cheated. That's not right for the kid, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not
real,
cool.
Man. And and some people, the people who are cheating the system like that, they don't realize their acts sometimes is what can push some of them other kids who are trying to get out and do the right things. Those acts that they're doing can push some of them kids back over into those other sides of negativity.
Yeah.
Some people don't. It's like some of them don't realize that, and they don't look at that because But then again, maybe it's some of them they haven't been on that side to see that side of life to understand it or something. But it's really bad that can happen on there. Somebody put a note in. I'm gonna go ahead. Okay, Erica said there was a team last year in travel football that had several players who played way down. Forged birth certificates, and this was confirmed from a previous bookie mom from the team. They win, but by default. There it is, and that's the wrongness of it.
And football is a very, very physical sport. You know, you can get them kids hurt. Like again, you're you're only talking 2 years, but when you're going from a 13-year-old to 11-year-old, you're talking about a team of guys who's probably already hit puberty. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
children. This isn't a 24-year-old against a 26-year-old. This is
Um,
you're talking the difference between a high school kid. A high school kid could be what 14, and a sixth grade child who just got out of elementary school last year. You know, there's a huge gap, huge gap in just the physical ability.
oh
What's
yeah.
going
Yeah.
and not even the kids that are getting beat. You're not doing nothing for the kids that are winning because if you look around and you grew up playing ball, you go to college. 90% of the people who don't make it in college is because they've never been around that type of talent. It's easy to be the man in your hometown. When you go to college, it doesn't matter if you're high level D1, if you go pro, even if you go JUCO or NAIA, everybody was the man at their high school.
Yep. You're right.
If
That's the
you've got,
truth.
if you've got a coach who constantly cheats for you and helps you cut corners, the first time you go to that college and you're used to scoring 24 points a game in your high school, when you get to college, everybody averages 20 points a game. I went to a JUCO and we had a two guard that was 6'8", that averaged 38 points a game in Memphis, not in Johnson City, not in the Tri Cities. He averaged 38 points a game in Memphis. The boy was 6'8".
Man.
Daryl Somerset. So you're not preparing them for this. So you see a lot of kids once they get there, they're like, oh, I can't make it. I can't play with these guys. I don't have the, because they haven't had to push and push and push. And you even see it sometimes with the young kids, like even my daughter's team, they've seen it, but they're seeing it early, so they'll be prepared for it later on in life. Like if they lose in tournaments and stuff like that, it's good for them sometimes. Chloe and Gabby, Sammy's team, when
Mhm.
we would go places and if they would lose, okay, we gave everything we had, but it's good for them to see that early because it's telling them at an early age, hey, the world is bigger than East Tennessee. So I
Yeah.
got to go to work, So if you're just constantly lying to them and you're not letting them see that competition and you're letting the ninth graders play with the seventh graders, you're taking them to weak tournaments, they're not going to be ready. Even if they do get that college scholarship, whenever they go to a gym and they play with all collegiate level athletes, they're going to fold. So
Yeah.
you're really in the long run. It doesn't do anybody any good except for the money.
Yeah. Yeah. And and I hear some people say, they'll say, well, we don't want to put kids in a tournament where they're gonna get beat real bad because it's gonna hurt their esteem and hurt this, that, whatever else. And I'm like, in life, sometimes you got to go. Sometimes you're gonna take losses in life. You got to learn to get your skin toughened up a little bit. I mean, I believe in going. You give a good effort because to me, if a team puts together, if they give a good effort, that's a win in a sense. The score might not reflect it, but I can say, hey, here you gave effort, you gave this, and this. Now let's go back to practice and work on some things that we need to make better. Now let's fine tune stuff on that part. I think there's so many people out here who are like they're afraid. They're afraid to get hurt or they're afraid of losing. And I'm like, that's life, and life is taking change. You gotta step out and take that risk because in order to win, you got to be willing to lose.
Yeah.
I mean, and I guess I just wonder about that sometimes when I hear people say that they're like, but I'm like, but they'd rather stay the big fish in the little pond and want to win all these rec league games, but don't want to go to the bigger tournaments where you got more competition and with a fear of, oh, we'll get blown out if you go out there. Well, if you go out there and you play enough, you eventually gonna learn to change something in your system or adjust something in your game, and that's even for the coaches because sometimes it ain't the kids getting beaten some equations. Sometimes it's the coaches who just don't know how to coach.
And that was with I I've noticed that a lot of times people have an ego issue, and the faster that they accept that there's a million people better in boxing than me. There's a million people better in basketball. The sooner I accept that, the sooner I can grow. And like you said, a lot of times it's people getting out coached or whatever, or outplayed, whatever, just out everything. But if they don't see it, like you said, it's real life. So my first weekend, and I played college with one of my childhood friends, BJ Harrison. He just passed away. So our first couple of weeks down there, of course they give out scholarships, but they also have people trying to walk on. Now this is
Mhm.
real life. We have people coming from, and this is just a junior college. I just went to a JUCO. I didn't even graduate high school. I left after my junior year. That's a whole long story. So I had to go to a JUCO. Uh, we're playing pickup ball. We played 2 games. As soon as those 2 games is over, Coach Carlisle looked straight at like 9 kids. He was like, okay, I don't need you. No explanation. No try again tomorrow. No, nothing. That's real life. I don't need you. You're not going to make it. Now, these are those, their goal in life was probably to get a college scholarship. They played 2 games. He looked at 9 people and was like, bye. And that's just, like you said, that's real life. Everybody wants to baby people. Once you start getting up in high school and college, and if you ever dream of playing in the pros, some of the worst cussings I've ever had in my life was by my college coach. They're gonna give it to you straight. So you're not gonna be, if you're treated like a baby as a kid, you're not gonna be able to make it. And that's
Yeah,
just goes. Like college, everybody can play, everybody's tough, everybody hits hard in football, everybody's fast. In basketball, everybody can dunk, everybody can shoot threes, everybody score 30 points. It's you
hmm
you gotta set yourself apart from people and be
yeah,
ready for it.
yeah. And I saw a post the other day that and I think it had Kawhi Leonard in it, and he was talking to a player, but somebody had a saying with it, and it was like, work on your defense and get better on your defense. And if you work hard on your defense, it's going to create when you get an opportunity at more playing time. And by having that opportunity to get more playing time on defense, it's going to create some opportunities where you get that chance to get play offense. And that's something that, like what you said, everybody wants to shoot, everybody wants to score, but if somebody works on their rebound and gets better at rebound, they're gonna get in the game more because teams love somebody that rebounds. Somebody works on their defense. Teams love a player that can play good defense because they need somebody to challenge that score for the other team, that shooter that score for the other team. And those are things that some players don't want to work on, you know, but they don't realize those are some things that really help get them opportunities if they can rebound, play defense, and stuff like that, and hustle on the floor. Those some of those things right there create great opportunities for a lot of people that some just don't see it. Everybody wants to be the shooter or the scorer and don't realize all those other pieces that add to the game that help make the opportunities for the people who do score.
Yeah. As far as basketball goes, scoring to me, that's the easiest part. That's you got to have defense.
Yeah,
My,
you're right. They got to. They got to have a defense there, and have that part situated and right. Believe your screen froze up for a second, so we'll see on that part. So Dustin was talking, the screen froze up for a second. So, but what we're here talking about, y'all, is hey, with people who are playing kids up, playing kids down. People who are playing kids down, and playing them down in grades, playing them down in the age of tournaments. People who are like ninth graders playing in seventh grade tournaments, or 16-year-olds playing in 14-year-old tournaments. What is the purpose? What's the point? What's the reason? What are they getting out of it? My opinion, I feel like it's cheap. That's just my opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion. Some of y'all gonna be entitled. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. Some of y'all gonna feel certain ways about it. Some will agree with me. Some won't. But it's just like if you got a 10th grader playing in a seventh grade tournament, or you got a 10-year-old playing in a 7-year-old tournament. It's just not right. There's no purpose for it. There's no reason of it. I mean, if you got to forge birth certificates, or you got to lie about report cards and create different report cards to slide kids through, is the win really worth it? I mean, just so you can put a trophy on your table or post your winning medals and all that on social media, is it worth it when you do that kind of stuff? I mean, that's just crazy on there on that part. Yeah, I saw you froze up for a minute, so I forgot to talk a little bit and just went back to the core subject on there about kids playing down, and what's why are people doing it, and is the win really that important just to have a trophy or a medal to put on social media or in their house on the table?
That's so I look at it like this. If you teach, if you run AAU football or basketball, and you've got a sixth grade group, and from sixth to 12th grade they win everything, but only out of the basketball team, only four of them get college scholarships, and only two of them actually make it the first year, and only one of them gets a degree. That's not success. You
Right.
did what you were supposed to do for your organization because you got them banners. But all 14, 15 of them kids that was on the team, you didn't build them, you didn't get them ready for real life. You didn't get ready. These summer leagues in football, basketball, wrestling, is to make you better, is to get you. The goal is for any kid playing a sport is to play college. As a
Yeah.
kid, that's their goal. So I would rather my team go to Texas and play football and just get completely smashed for 3, 4 years. And then after a couple years, maybe we win a couple games. But they're
Right.
seeing the competition and they're getting tougher mentally, they're getting better, and they're seeing the competition that they're going to see when they get to college. And if they
Yeah.
make it to college, they're not going to freak out.
Yeah.
So,
You're right about that, man. If they get out and get a chance to see the other levels of competition, it is going to help them because they're going to play against some tougher people, play against people from other areas and see the skill sets, and it gives them something to come back home to and work on. Because if you see what other kids are doing, some stuff, it makes you say, "Hey, I gotta pick my level up to do better and learn more, and build more and put more time in." It's it's I'm okay with taking some losses when the kids give effort. If especially every team, some teams out there in these tournaments, you see some are going to be better, some are going to be worse. But the thing is, it's like go out and give that effort every night and learn from each situation of it. But not go out there to cheat the system and try to play in a smaller tournament just to get a W, just so we can come back and say, hey, we won titles and stuff like that. I care about the kids that I work with too much to do that. And I guess and that's just me. I care about the kids too much to just play them down in tournaments just so they can get a win.
yeah.
Because I'm like, and I tell the parents of the kids I work with, I'm like, hey, I want to see their grades. And right now, the group I'm working with right now, I was like, look, I created a list and told them I want your teachers to sign this and give me what your current grade is and have them sign it. And some of them were like, well, we can share our report cards when we get our report cards. I said, no, I'm not waiting till your report cards. I want your stuff now because if you are behind on something, I want you to go reach out to your teacher and ask your teacher what you can do to get your grade up or what extra work you can do. So that way, whenever your report cards comes up, you just move that grade up for whenever your report cards come up. So I'm one of those types of people because my coaches, they cared about me like that, and they checked my grades, stayed on me. It was like having an additional parent. It was like, hey, they were in that. And I'm like, that's how I try to be with these kids. I'm like, I care about more than just what they do on the court. I care about what they do in life because I know what I came through coming up and playing in the neighborhood where I played in. There was a lot of drug dealers, a lot of different stuff going on and stuff like that. So basketball was a way out. Yeah, my dad's a preacher. And my family kept me in church, but I was still out running the roads a little bit, and now they're playing the games. I mean, because at the outdoor park, that stuff is out there. You got the stuff going on in the streets, whatever it is. So it's like you still got to battle your way through and playing. And I just tried to keep myself enough where I played basketball, but then still stayed myself in school and doing stuff. But it still was love and respect for everybody out there in the streets too. But just keeping myself out of that trouble as well, you know.
Yeah.
And people don't realize it. It's hard. You know, that stuff is hard. But you know, I look at how people cared about me, and coaches would come pick me up whenever my mom and dad were at work or they were at church, and you know, and so I'm like, I try to do that for these kids now and checking on their grades and picking them up if they need to be picked up and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think that's huge that you do that, man, because I look back to when I was a kid, and some of the best coaches that I had wasn't necessarily skilled in coaching, but it was like life coach. They would check on me. They'd come and get me. Do you need anything to, you know, you want to stop and get something to eat on the way home? They pick you up because a lot of the times, man, kids, like you said, with this real life stuff, they're scared to talk to their parents, or maybe their parents don't care, or maybe their dad ain't there, or maybe they're scared to talk to their dad. I've got a couple kids that I've dealt with basketball or boxing or whatever that they'll kind of open up. You know what I mean? And it's they start to trust you. I've like I said, the guys that I remember growing up, I still appreciate everything they've done for me, and it's sometimes it's more than that because kids, what, you got a 1 in 1 million chance to make it to the NBA or NFL
Yeah,
or something. So chances are, me and you, there's a good chance that we'll never coach a kid that may not. I may never coach a kid that becomes a billionaire Floyd Mayweather.
right.
Chances are you're never going to coach a LeBron. That's a one
Yeah,
in 1 billion phenomenon.
yeah, you're
But
right.
you may be able to get that kid to get to college, have a good college career, but then they get a free degree, or
Bingo.
they've got a head start on life. They don't fall victim to the streets. You know, and I'm very with my kids. I'm very open because I've made mistakes. We've all made mistakes, but I've probably made more than most, and so I feel like I'm open about things. You know, when I see things, I'm like, okay, you're going down that path. This is what can happen. You know, let me show you. Let me talk to you about that. You know, and it's more than sports. So when you start taking that away and just focusing on, well, if I go 10-0 in this tournament, I can charge $90 a head. You know, I can charge this, or I can charge this, or I can. Then you're taking away from what's important. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because these summer programs, a lot of kids, like you said, they need it. They
yeah,
love the sport. They would do anything for the sport, and that's the only thing keeping them sane. So when you start taking that away, and you know, the kid who is about to go left and about to get into drug, you know, around the high school age is about the age where you're either gonna go right or go left. You're either
yeah,
gonna go see what your friends is doing on Saturday night. You can get smoking, drinking. You know, there's drugs out there, like you said, or you're gonna stay in the gym.
yeah.
You know, 13, 14, 15. That's about the age where you can make the choice. Am I going to hang out Saturday? Or am I gonna go put some jump shots up?
Bingo.
So, you know, when the coaches only care about the money, you know, then you kind of lose focus on stuff, and you may lose a couple of kids that you know that you could have saved if you would have been more into them instead of into yourself, or trying to build yourself, or whatever it is you're trying to build. I feel
Yeah,
like if your heart's not in it, because there's not a ton of money at all, especially in boxing. I've lost my ass in boxing. I ain't made no money in training these kids. I do it because I like it. If I
right.
would ever help, if I've helped with basketball, I've never charged a kid for a you know, anything I do. I do it because I feel like you pay it back. You know, you're supposed to look out for the community. You know what I'm saying? You can't put yourself in a bad predicament. But like I said, definitely not gonna buy no bins by running a boxing gym. Do it because I love it. You know, so
I
when
hear you.
I start doing that, then you know it I don't think that the kids will respect you as much. You know, when you start becoming fake and all that stuff. So that's
I
just
hear
my opinion, but I ain't nobody important. So
Now you got Jonathan Nichols asked when can he come to the gym and get a few rounds in? He needs to release some stress and anger.
now that right there, like we're talking about, he's not a kid, but that's the same thing. He came to the gym. We never knew each other, never grew up together or anything, and we helped each other through some hard times, and he's became a really really good friend. So you know, you build relationships like it's, you know, sometimes it's just more than how much can I charge this kid, how much can I charge this student, how
Right.
much can you know. So that this is but to answer that question, you can come by anytime, Jonathan.
He said he's still, and then he's put another one. He said, "Still think of you like a brother, man."
That's my man right there. Yeah,
That's
he's went through some really really rough times, man. So we're praying for you, Jonathan. I know you and your family's going through it. So give me a call tomorrow if you got some time, or come by and watch the John Jones fight with me if you want to. Bring the wife and everything, so y'all can come by. You can come by too, Lily. You like John Jones?
yeah. Oh yeah.
What you think he gonna do tomorrow?
It's good to see him back. I think I think he's gonna show up and do pretty well, man. I actually think he's gonna do pretty well.
I hope he does. That's my favorite fight. Favorite
Yeah.
fighter. Ring rust is real though, man. That's what I was just talking about that in my podcast. I know we're getting off the subject, but at that level, 3 years off, man, that's a long time. Like that's the best of that's the NBA of MMA.
Man, and see, and that's and like you said, it's the practicing and stuff just doesn't take the place of the actual matches. It's a
No,
difference. It's just a different adrenaline, and I've never done MMA fighting or boxing and stuff like that, but I mean, just
it's the
kind
same.
of, what I'm saying is I know with basketball, you can practice all day long in practice, but whenever you get in that game situation, the breathing is different, the energy is different, and that
It's live.
adrenaline, yeah, it's live, and so that is the
A perfect
anticipation, man. This,
a perfect example of that is look at Jordan when he came back when he won when he wore 45. That wasn't Jordan. He was good, but he wasn't Jordan yet. It took him a whole year, because they
yeah,
got beat by Penny and them. Remember when he came
uh-huh.
back, they got beat by Penny and Shaq. Then the following year they did another three-peat. But when Jordan took them 2 years off and he came back, he was Jordan, but he wasn't Jordan.
Yeah,
It
he
took him
want that dude. Yeah,
yeah, he had to get back into, like you said, basketball shape. You
yeah.
can't simulate that.
Oh yeah, and see, so that's the one thing I'm wondering about how he's going to do in this match. And like I said, I think he'll do well. I'm just wondering how much because it is that time off can definitely play a role and play a factor. It's that's something that hard. It's just that difference. It's definitely that difference. But I mean, but hopefully he can, mentally and physically power through it to come out with a win. Or, it's. I'm hoping it'll be a great fight. I'll put it that way. I hope it'll be a great match.
It
Where
kind of it kind of goes back to what you said about the kids and being ready for it. His whole career, he's fought the best of the best. So he's not going to be surprised if he gets beat. It's because he the guy was just better. But like you said, even with the kids, he's not going from fighting me or you to fighting him. He
yeah,
went from Rampage to Rashad to Shogun to he's beat the best fighters in the world at 205.
uh,
And so he's used to that level of competition. He's used to the spotlight. He's used to that. So other than him having some ring rust or getting caught with a big shot by a big guy, which is always a possibility, I
right.
don't think he's going to freeze up at all.
Oh yeah, yeah. Indeed, indeed. Now, do you have any matches, anything coming up, any events coming up? I mean, while we're here on the podcast, we might as well go ahead and plug that in. If you got any kind of events coming up, or any of your fighters got events coming up and stuff like that, or
We're having another one April 8th down in Pigeon Forge. We got a couple of local fighters on it. I know Garrett Johnson's fighting a couple guys from Knoxville. I'm not really sure. With Dustin Walden's got some guys fighting on it. I'm not sure if Kemper's going to fight yet or not. I believe Kemp's fighting in South Carolina in a week or two. But we're doing something April 8th in Pigeon Forge, and then we'll be coming back to the Tri Cities in late May or early June. So as far as me fighting, I don't know if I'll fight anymore. I got my belts back for Dakari that last fight, and
yeah,
uh, I book another fight, and I might come home and say we got my clothes outside. So I don't know.
I hear that.
Feel what
I
we
hear
do with that one.
that, man. Well, and what you do too, man, with the boxing stuff, that's a great conditioning thing for people, even if they're not trying to get into, say, the amateur boxing and the professional boxing levels, like you all at the professional levels. But if they're not, but if they just do it as an exercise, that's a good conditioning and coordination type deal for athletes. I mean, in any sport. I think it can work well for them, on that part of it to come in, and it's just, get some training from you all and learn some stuff. And, because, I know you have to go through footwork and that type of stuff. And I don't think people really realize how much it takes and the conditioning y'all go through, in getting yourself prepared and going through those motions, getting that stuff done.
Yeah, it's great for kids and adults. I mean, it's just a good workout, even if you just or even stress. Like sometimes, I think I was out there last week at like 2, 3 in the morning where I have my own gym, and I just couldn't sleep. So I went up to the gym, turned the music up loud, and I'm just beating the crap out the bag for about 30 minutes. Made me feel good. Came home, took a shower. Uh, Another thing is there's nothing wrong with everybody should know how to defend themselves. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
because people's crazy, and it also, it teaches a lot of discipline. You have no idea how many kids that just, I'll beat him up and do this and do this and do it until they come into a gym and they get calmed down, and it helps a lot. Some of the wildest kids become world champs. You hear stories about Mike Tyson. Bernard Hopkins actually did 10 years in prison. It teaches you to calm down, because you're in a gym full of people that your mouth no longer matters. So you're going to respect everybody, or else you can get in there in that cage and it might not go your way, or you can get in that ring and it might not go your way. So, or if a kid like Mike Tyson's got all this energy to be outside and hang with the wrong crowd, you're pursuing boxing or MMA. I mean, you're working out 4 or 5, 6 hours a day. You don't have time to do that. And when you get home, you don't take a shower and go to bed. So it actually helps a lot. It's just like any other sport, but it definitely helps.
And well, man, we've been on here for 52 minutes, so we gonna chop it out on here and end out on here on this part. But I'm gonna definitely bring you back for some more stuff on here, man, and we gonna keep pushing the podcast, pushing the growth. Congratulations on your podcast as well. On your YouTube, so we'll be following you on there also, man, and doing some stuff. And thanks for being on, man, and we'll definitely be talking some more, and we'll chime in with you.
Thanks for having me, man. I'll holler at you.
All right, y'all take care. Take care, brother.
Yes, sir.
Y'all, we out. We thank you all for tuning in, and we're gonna talk on more stuff. We're gonna be speaking on more stuff, basketball, sports, and other things as well. And just wanted to bring this up and do this type of podcast and talk on more stuff. So, we're gonna end this out with let's give you let's leave out on a little message here. And I think
there's a lot of time that people talk about mountains, and a lot of people say, oh, when I can get this mountain moved, oh God, will you move this mountain? A lot of times God has placed that mountain there for you not to move it. It's almost like when you're kids, people who have children, the kid come up and says, can I have $20 or can I have $50? You just normally don't give that kid $20 or $50. You ask the kid to work for it, right or wrong. So a lot of times that's what God is doing in our lives, where he wants you to put forth some effort and work. He's not wanting to move that mountain for you. He didn't place that mountain there for it to just move out of your way. He placed it there so that you would climb it. Because whenever you climb it, you'll actually see a difference. You're making an effort. Because when you get to the top of that mountain, what you see at the top of that mountain is you get to look at the situation below from a different view. You can see it from 10,000 feet, from 20,000 feet. You get to assess the situation, because then you're not in the midst of the storm that's down at the bottom of that mountain that you were trying to get moved out of your life. Whenever you got it, when you're able to be up on top of that mountain, you also can get a little closer to where you can hear the message of what's being told to you, what's being trying to be given to you. Because when you're down in the midst of all the storm, it's too much commotion where you can't see or you can't hear what's going on, and you're not focused. So instead of asking to move the mountain, climb the mountain. Take some effort. Even if you got to get something to attach in and pick into the mountain and reach and climb, get a rope, get a way to pull yourself up, but get yourself to where you can get to the top of that mountain, and then you'll find your decision. Because what that's doing as well is separating you from something. It's separating you from either some trouble or situation. It's separating you so you can clear your mind and so you can think whenever you get on top of that mountain. Stop asking to move the mountain and instead work to climb the mountain. Today, the Network King Lee Williams here. Make it a great one.
Hello everybody, today, this is Network King Lee Williams here. We're working with the youth, doing basketball training, skills, drills, just going through different things, things that you can apply in your life as well. Because they're working with obstacles, like the pop-up things that they dribble through and go around. We've got some big, tall, extra D-man, defensive players, which is just like in your life. You have to overcome certain obstacles, you have to overcome certain things. Sometimes you can go above it, sometimes you have to go around it, or go below it. So that's what we want to work on with the kids. So it's not just about training basketball, it's also training in life. That's what we want to help do for you and bring to you all. So I love you all. Tune in for today. Make it a great one.
Hit it, King. Family on three. Family on